I just dropped off books at the library. Didn't have any to pick up this time. I took back one about Jay Mizell and a couple of others, a couple of books, a couple of DVDs, videos. Right now I'm trying to find my final photo for the day. It's kind of a drab, gray day. Winter has arrived early and it's kind of got me stuck in a cold place. It's brighter today than it was yesterday, but it's still gray. Every now and then you'll perhaps get a little bit of sunlight come out, so I can't count on sunlight to be part of the photography arsenal for the day, but I'll find something. So I'm going to go uptown and see if I can find something colorful to photograph. Hopefully something colorful with people in it. I prefer people. I know people that do strictly nature work, and I can appreciate what they do. I'm glad that they do it, but I am not a nature photographer. I am a people photographer. That's how I got my start. The thing that I like most to photograph probably comes from the early days of liking photography, when my dad would show me the photographs of all the sailors on board ship, him and his buds, and what they were doing. I kind of liked all the pictures of all the guys. Told me the stories about them, what they were up to. So I guess that's why I like photographing people. It comes from my early days of photography. So I'm going to look for colorful pictures today, hopefully with people. But at this point in the day, I'm probably going to settle for whatever I can find, as long as it's colorful. I think another part of that, me like to photograph people, not only comes from the times my dad would show me his photo album from World War II and show me all the guys that he was on board ship with, both the ships he was on, the Jarvis and the Beatty. He liked to show me the pictures. I like seeing them. I like sitting in his lap and him regaling me with the stories about what they had done, from all the strange things that had to happen on board ship, and the days they thought they had shot an American plane down, and all sorts of good stories. I think it also comes from what I remember as the very first photo book that I ever saw. It was a gift from my mother. It's The Family of Man. It's an older book, obviously, but if I got it when I was in my youth, and I'm of age now. The Family of Man is a wonderful collection of photographs. I think one of the reasons I like to photograph people is I was inspired by the photographs in The Family of Man and by my father's photographs of the guys that he was in the military with. I know that I became more serious about making photographs when I was in the military. I bought my first camera while I was in the Air Force, began photographing the guys in the barracks that I lived with, thinking perhaps one day I'd show them to my son or to my children, and sitting on my lap, and I could regale them with the stories like my father did. It turns out my stories aren't as fine as my dad's stories. I don't get to regale my children with my stories of tending B-52s in North Dakota. I'll leave a link down below so you can see it for yourself, or you can Google Family of Man photos. You can see what they were like. Spectacular collection, and one of the reasons I like to photograph people. I'm back after looking for something colorful with people in it. Saw some people, saw some things colorful, none of them together. The most colorful thing I saw were brake lights and headlights on the cars going by. Didn't see much more than that. So I'm not sure exactly what this is going to end up being like. I do have a couple of colorful things, but they're not spectacular pictures, but they do meet the requirement of having made another photograph for another day, and I'll be posting that somewhere. It'll be linked down below. You can take a look. I wanted to come back to the Family of Man book one more time before I go home. It's a 1955 exhibit that was put together by Edward Steichen. I guess I was about 11, 12 years old when I got the book. It's interesting that one of the first set of photographs I made, that were a series of photographs, were about that time in 1958, as best as memory serves and my family history shows. It is an interesting story, my camping across the country. It's got an interesting aspect to it about my life as a photographer. and how I became better because of that trip. I didn't realize how much it affected me till I started making photographs and realized that one of my first professional jobs was similar to what I had done when I was 14 and did not do very well. But we'll come back to that one day. I'll tell you the story of Disneyland, and I'll tell you the story of Disney World. Been to both of them, different times, but I've been there for both. The Family of Men was very influential. There are some folks who criticize it, but they criticize it in retrospect as opposed to the time it was first published and shown at the Museum of Modern Art. I highly recommend that you get a copy of it, or at least find a copy of it to look at. Westerville Library has it. I recommend you go online and reserve it for yourself. Maybe when this COVID thing is over, we can sit down with my copy, sit down over a cup of coffee and talk about the photographs that are in it and see how influential they were and how they influenced the whole generation of photographers, me among them. I'm one of those people who was influenced to become a photojournalist by the Family of Man book. Highly recommend you take a look at it. Look at it especially if you're 14 years old and wanting to make photographs. It's important. All right, I'm gonna go find something. I don't know what, I'm gonna look for something more colorful. I don't know if I'll find it on the way home or not, but I'm certainly gonna give it a try. Don't have much time left on this battery. It's gonna run out pretty soon. My battery's running out pretty soon too. End of the day. I'll be back in a minute.